Today we are checking out this plugin called Cube by Lunacy Audio. Alright, so what is this plugin about? Well, it's basically a sound design plugin where you have lots of sounds in the preset library, and most importantly, it evolves around this engine here where you have what's called orbits, because all sounds, if I click here, are generated in layers. So if I go to the overview, you have layer A to H, so 8 different sounds, as all these layers, which are then shaped in this engine here. So this correspond, these dots here in the corners plus these ones here correspond, as you can see here, to these layers. And then you have this motion engine with all these types of morphing motion. So you can see this little orb thingy moving around in various shapes. And this is the presets for the orbits. You can set how long the motion is, how long it takes for it to go around. And you can even create new orbit here. So you can shape your own if you want to. But otherwise, it's just going in here, smooth, short, filtering out to find cool ones here. That adds a lot of movement and motion into the sounds. So what types of sounds do you have? Well, let's go to the main view. So you have all these views, the sounds, all the layers, the orbit engine, the main engine. So this is the most important one. Here you click to go to the preset library, where you can click on this tags and search for, let's say, only arpeggio type sounds, and then you can browse a lot of sounds here. Another one. Or perhaps you want some pulses. Another one. I'm just holding down an octave here on my keyboard. You can find pads, perhaps basses. As you can hear, it really evolves around this orbit engine with a movement between, morphing between the layers. Now, you have some controls even here on the main page, which is this one called Ether, or Ether. And this is mapped to your mod wheel on your keyboard. So let's try it out. So I hear some slight air being added here. It depends on the actual sound you use, but that is either. You have this macro controller, and you have an overall filter. So those are the simple sound design aspects here, just controlling everything here. Otherwise, you have also a module here with 4 different LFOs and a mod matrix. When I tested this, I found that I rarely go in here because you already have the orbit engine, and this takes care of all the movement. Let's say you want it longer. Okay. Or you can go in and edit the motion here if you want to. As you see here, if you have a breaking point in these strings here, it really gets kind of pulsing jump in the sound. If you don't want that, I recommend these more smoother. I like circles and various motion sounds like this. Okay, and then you also have an effects page where you have filter, EQ, all these modules of effects. But if you go back here to the main view, something I really am a fan of. But first, the interface, I think it's pretty neat. Most important for me is that you don't have a resize here, but you can go in here and set the zoom factor. I would have liked like a 175% because it's like 150. I wanted it slightly larger. So if the developers could add 175, that would be awesome. But you can also check for updates here. You know, here are the main CCs. Oh, so this is really important. You can actually change. So let's say the either is now on CC1, which is the mod wheel. Perhaps you want that on, let's say, the filter, like so, and you want this one on CC2 or whatever. Now I have the filter plus either on the mod wheel, which creates, you can see it, oops, here the knob is moving when I move the mod wheel, both either. I like that. So let's go back here. You can also change the orb CCs if you want to go really advanced, and as well as the pitch bend range if you want to bend. So lots of sound design possibilities from just using your MIDI keyboard, faders, knobs, and so on. But the great thing is that you don't have to do much, since the actual engine takes care of it for you. Let's just move this up. All right, so one thing I really love with sound design plugins like this is these are often happy accidents, because if you load up a piano, you know what you get. If you load up a strings library, you know what you get. Here it's like you get instantly inspired, right? So this really cool pulsing, low, dark sound. Ooh, using the mod wheel. And that way, I find that these types of plugins works really great for, you know, kickstarting a new project, or just getting new inspiration and ideas, like this super low pulsing bass. I love that. So the problem is that it can become tedious to browse for presets like this. Okay, so I loved the fact that they included these three buttons: Randomize Sounds, Randomize Orbit, and Randomize Effects. And also that they made them independent. So let's say you like the sound, you don't like the orbit, you don't want to go to the orbit preset, just click here until you get something you want, right? Or let's say you think the effects, you can see here which are activated. There's some distortion, EQ, you can see it here. Well, you can go in here if you want to, but why not just go to the main engine, click Randomize Effects. Completely unique sounds. This means that I have no idea how many sounds are in here, to be honest. There are actually expansion packs you can get as well. But if I remove the filters, there's no indication. But I mean, you can see I'm scrolling and scrolling. So B, C, D, E. I mean, it's lots and lots of presets in the factory library. You have some third-party libraries, I think, here. This here. And you can also save user presets. And if I browse for expansions, okay, it opens up in your web browser and you can get the expansions. I mean, this way you can get happy accents by just clicking these. And I mean, let's say it's 1,000 presets. I have no idea. But if it is, you still get infinite creative accidents and options by just using the randomizer. I mean, I'm still on the same sounds now. Just randomize the effects and the orbit. And then you can add your mod wheel. Or map these macro controllers, the macro controller, and I'm actually not sure what the macro and either does to what it does due to the sound, but it really seems to be either seems to be more like adding that air and shimmer. Well, the macro, I assume, does a lot more to sound. Let's load up something else. This was way too reverby. Okay, so this clean bass. It's not even in motion. So let's test the macro. Okay. But I feel the saturation. Some grit there. I'm assuming it does something to the effects. Modulation. I'm not sure. It might be the back end, actually. So the most important thing is that it does something cool to the sounds. Okay? I mean, this is a different sound than this cleaner sound. I think I would probably stick to the mapping of the filter and either to the mod wheel when I started to use this plugin in practice in my productions. I like having this filter on the cutoff on mod wheel. But I mean, if you are happy with the sound, we can start to randomize on the effects on orbit, or let's say the opposite. Let's say you find a good orbit. Let's randomize sounds. Again. And the cool thing is, if you go into the sounds, you can see it actually randomizes. Oh, so here it actually is off on these layers. What you have A, D, E, and H. Randomize sounds. Click to power on that one. And this is really cool. Let's say you are pretty happy with it, but you didn't like that sound. It takes over too much. Well, you can actually randomize here as well. Pretty cool, right? And if you think you don't need a particular one, you can power off the module. And now you have these ones. You can go into each layer, which has its own preset engine, which you can filter out. Let's say you want some hybrid, or let's say a pad thing here. Let's go to overview. Okay, so it's on. It's just that the orbit is not triggering it. Let's actually randomize the orbit a bit more. Like that. Okay, so now you hear the pad coming in. You also have these modulators here. Oh, here we find the macro, so you can actually... Oh, I didn't actually know this. I just stumbled upon this. This was pretty hidden, and I'm not a fan of having to read manuals, so I like when it's clear in the interface. This was pretty hidden, but it's really cool. So modulators, you can get the LFO 1 to 4 here, which you can set here, of course. And then map it to... I don't know what parameter. I can map it to, let's say, the intensity of this one. Like so. So now we have... Let's say if that is seen, in fact. Macro. So if I left click, you can see the things I can map it to. Let's say rotation. Okay, so I would have liked to see when I'm done with it, when I move the macro controller, that it does show in the interface. That would have been neat to see. Enable orbit here instead. Okay, so I mean, that's pretty much the interface. The sounds, the layers, the orbit engine that morphs between the main, where you have the ether macro filter and the orbit motion. You can even click to divisions here. You have the modulators here, the LFOs, mod matrix with a macro. Okay, so here you can actually also map to different parameters. Really extensive mod matrix. So if I just click on randomize, I don't know if it randomizes the mod matrix. Doesn't show here. I would have liked that as well. And then the effects page. But let's just play some stuff now to see how inspired we can become with all these sounds. Let's go to the factory sound bank and pick a random preset. Oh, you can even favorite your presets. That's really cool, especially with plugins like this, because you really have no idea when you trigger a sound what kind of sound it is. I think angelic dust. Lots of angels on A. That was really cool. And then it even has the author here and some notes. A macro submerging the sound, filter and verb delay mix. Okay, so there it says what the macro does. Cool. Finally. So let's try the macro. Oh yeah, submerging, so it goes beneath the surface. Nice. I really should map this to some knob or fader. I'm not sure. I don't have my fader box in front of me. It's below the desks now. But anyway, let's just move on and try something else. You can also use the tags, as I said, keys, key type sounds. Cool. Let's try some leads, in fact. 72-hour Oslo. I think this is way too much delay to be a lead. Let's remove the delay. And even the reverb is... Let's see. No, I didn't like that sound. Let's do this one. That was a really interesting sound. High-pitchy kind of shimmery sound. Bloom. Let's try some percussion. I didn't know that it was in here. Percussive sounds. Bram transition. Cool. Call of cutie. I'm not sure I will call this sound cute, but interesting little crispy sound there. Let's vocal. What's that? Choir practice. Let's see. I don't know. Is the orbit engine? It's very... Oh, so it's very tight in the center here. Oh, yeah. They have this intensity, so you can actually make it more pronounced. Since if it's in the center, it doesn't really morph that much between them. But it seems also now that the so the ah and so it's very similar sound. If I change one of them, let's say this one to let's see, rebreather. It's still too similar. Let's do this one to gritty. Yeah, now we get something. This I like. Movement engines work extremely well for pads and cinematic sounds like this. Main again, let's choose something intimate here. Let's just take this one, Mirage. I wouldn't call this intimate personally. I think it's quite stressful actually, but cool. Cool in any case. Nasty tremor. Okay. Organic. Monolith. No, not another choir. Let's do this. Ostrich feather plucker. Who comes up with these names? Really plucky, tight, but with all those delay bounces and movement. It's really cool. Oh, immediate stop here. Really, that was nice. I thought the delays would keep on jumping around there. Reclamation of nature. I'm a fan of this pad type stuff, organic cinematic sounds the most. But I mean, there's so much you can do. If we go out here, overview again. I think they even have, let's see, you have the randomize, you have the loop, you have you have a reverse thing here. So I don't know if it will be audible on this type of sound. Let's do a one shot. Okay, that one. Overview. Then where was it? Reverse. Yeah, that was cool. So you can reverse the sounds as well. And let's see if we click here. Yeah, here, user samples. You haven't imported any samples. Let's fix that. Add samples to your user folder and click refresh. Yeah, so you can actually import your own audio samples and use as sound layers here in the engine. Any of these layers you can add your own waveforms, your own samples to. And that I found extremely useful. More plugin developers should add the possibility to add your own, to use your own sounds and samples. I haven't done it myself, but I mean, you can explore your own sound library. But overall, I find that this plugin, the Cube plugin, does have some really cool, unique abilities to morph between all these layers. And overall, the included sound in the factory sound bank are really cool and a lot to choose from. And as I said, you can also add your own add expansions, or when you add your own samples and use the randomize options, the possibilities are really endless. So I will leave a link in the description so you can check this plugin out, and I'll see you in the next video, my friends.